We are as you know, level 1 BEE, South African-born contact center solutions provider, and we provide services, solutions, training, hardware, software, development, and integration for anything related to call centers.
Okay.
We don't do any other voice stuff, so we don't do PABXs, we don't do back office,
No.
we don't do networking, we don't do all of that stuff. If we have a requirement for that, we would actually go out and bring a third party in and have them do that, but our core focus has up until now been call centers. I think that the key factor, our unique selling proposition is innovation.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people sell call center products and call center solutions, but we have the term, I don't know if it's the same in the UK and the US, but it's called box dropping.
Mm-hmm.
So you would have a vendor that would be able to sell you a solution, but it's a server with some software on it, and it gets configured and it gets dropped on site and then they walk away. Whereas what we do from every single solution is we go out to a customer, and this is from the team side. It's my strategy and my vision, but we've now ingrained it into them. It's their culture.
Yeah.
That you would go out to a customer and first and foremost understand what it is that they require. Take the product completely or the solution completely out of the mix. Understand what it is. If they want a black box with purple dots, we would go out and find a way of building a black box with purple dots.
Yeah.
And regardless of what product we use to do it, as long as it fits the requirement, we don't care. So a lot of guys are revenue driven in this space.
Cool.
So if you're a big multinational, as an example, say you're an Alcatel-Lucent, you've been driven by the guys in France,
Yeah.
and they say, right, you need to get 100 million US revenue for the year. You go out and see how many systems can you sell to get 100 million revenue.
Yeah.
We're not that. We're a small company. We have a revenue target, absolutely.
Cool.
But we've driven more by the requirements from the customer. There is a huge benefit for people to come into South Africa. One, we're on the European timeline, give or take an hour or two.
Yeah.
So anybody from Europe, if they would like services, would find it much easier to work with us than working with India and Manila. Secondly, English is our first language.
Yeah.
The thing is, if English is not your first language, and you got called through to a call center and that agent is trying to speak English, everything that is scripted would be easy to respond to.
Yeah.
But the moment you ask something outside of that
Of
script,
course.
they're thinking in their home language.
Yeah.
And when they speak, it comes out in the literal translation. And
Yeah.
if you speak a different language, you know what I'm talking about. So that's one big problem, is that their comprehension is in a language other than English.
Sure.
So it makes it very difficult for them to be very flexible. Thirdly, and this is a point that not a lot of people in Europe and US know about, is that we have every single European language available in call centers in South Africa. And I'm talking French, Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, Spanish, German, you name it. There are agents that are available in South Africa today that will be able to provide that service in the language of your choice. Cost, like you mentioned, the latest stats that we got from, I was involved in a webinar on Tuesday evening, which was done out of the UK about South African investment in BPO in South Africa, and the figures are around about 60% less than the UK at the moment.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And this is looking at the overall cost of the agent, cost of the infrastructure, real estate. So depending on where in the country it is, it averages between 60 and 65% less. And in today's climate, today's economic climate, that's going to be a deciding factor.
Okay.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
if you have an option on the table that's Manila or India or the US for that matter, or Europe, and something in South Africa, it's English speaking, same time zone, brilliant infrastructure, uptime. Some of our outsourced call centers in South Africa are guaranteed 99.99, 59 reliability,
Wow.
uptime. Kenya, you mentioned, is huge at the moment.
Yeah.
Botswana's skill level is phenomenal. They also have a very lucrative economic climate. I think if people in South Africa play their cards right, and they look at Africa as a continent, it doesn't have to be South Africa or Kenya or Nigeria or Botswana. It can be Africa. From our perspective, we have the skills and expertise to put together that type of solution.
Yeah.
So, and we've worked on a tender in the last 3 months of last year, which is massive.
Wow.
But it's not just call center; it's voice infrastructure, it's PBXs, all of that, and we partnered with Microsoft on it.
Wow.
So if that comes on board, you then now have the African continent as a whole, competing with the likes of Philippines and India. And that's going to be a really unique point, because now you're spreading not just your employee base, but you're spreading your infrastructure. You have disaster recovery plans in place. We had a concept which we developed many years ago, and a lot of customers are using it at the moment. One of which is the FBI in the US. They're an Aspect customer. So they have a number of centers in the North America, but they work on a follow the sun concept. So if you phone at 8 a.m. in the morning, you get answered by the East Coast. If you phone at 8 a.m. in the evening, you get answered in the West Coast. So that's the type of thing you're looking at. If you use Africa as a base, and people are phoning Skype support services from North America AM, it'll be answered by Kenya. And if someone is phoning from India, it'll be answered by Kenya in the afternoon. So those are the type of solutions that people need to start looking at. And we as an industry are trying to push that idea.
For more videos, please visit www.voicesofsouthafrica.com.